Happy Monday, everybody. Hope all is well with you on this most festive and gorgeous springing forward world that we find ourselves in. I'm going to hit you hard today with a couple things. I'm exhausted. I'm sure a lot of you are as well because this whole spring forward thing can mess you up. But I traveled a lot this weekend, and I'm just ready to hit some serious stuff with a little bit of fun stuff as well. First and foremost, it's the economy, stupid, period, case closed. And over the weekend, Trump had an opportunity to sit down with Maria Bartiromo and talk about the economy. And he was asked about there's a slowdown coming potentially. What do you feel about said slowdown? How is that going to help hurt, et cetera, et cetera?
Got the Atlanta Federal Reserve saying we're going to have a contraction in the first quarter. Look, I know that you inherited a mess, and you said that the other night.
I've only been here,
but are you expecting a recession this year?
I hate to predict things like that. There is a period of transition because what we're doing is very big. We're bringing wealth back to America. That's a big thing. And there are always periods of, it takes a little time. It takes a little time. But I think it should be great for us. I mean, I think it should be great. It's going to be great ultimately for the farmer.
It's going to be great for the farmer. It's going to be great for everybody. Everything's great. Here's the reality of it. There's going to be a slowdown. How big will it be? That's the question that people need to ask yourself. How much can you take? Of course, there's going to be a slowdown. That's just the nature of what it is that the economy is all about. Trump is trying to do a lot of different things. One of the things he's trying to do is try to bring manufacturing back to a country that I think it's virtually impossible to bring back to because we've decided a long time ago, we don't give a shit about manufacturing. You know what we want to do? We want to consume. We want to consume. We want to buy stuff. We want you to stock them deep and sell them cheap. We want that. So this thought process of we're going to bring all this stuff back here, we're going to make it, and it's going to be more expensive, and it's going to be this, but eventually the wages will catch up, and eventually stuff will be made here. That sounds great. Here's what Americans don't have, and humans in general anymore: no patience. To rebuild the manufacturing industry, it would take 10 plus years at best. Not saying we can't bring some stuff back here. But even if everything was to open today, we do not have the workers, the skilled workers. We don't have a lot of different things. And I love the foresight to go, yes, we need to do this over time. But the reality of it is, it isn't going to happen. Not the way that people want because of us. We want no part of. We don't want to wait a minute to watch the end of a TikTok or a Twitter that we think may be too long to get to the punchline. We don't. 90 seconds? Fly. We don't want that, let alone 10 to 15 years for manufacturing to come back that way that people think
Trump
should come back. Case in point.
He turned the GOP into the party of the working class, and working class voters love tariffs because they make their labor more rewarding for them. They get the American working class higher wages, which they can then use in the marketplace to compete against elites and to actually achieve the American dream. President Trump is teaching a generation of Republicans and business leaders how to build an amazing economy that will lift all boats, that will lift working class people as well as the stock market, and that will give the GOP a ruling majority for years and years to come. An economy based on love of country that will make America into the powerhouse of manufacturing, the superpower that it used to be. And I cannot get over the chutzpah of these business leaders sitting there whining about their quarterly reports while President Trump teaches them how to build an economy based on love of country and love of your neighbor. We should be listening and watching and saying thank you rather than whining and moaning.
Yeah, good luck with that. All of that sounds wonderful. And it would be great, wouldn't it? I mean, if we're manufacturing things like Detroit is reborn again, we're doing all this stuff here to manufacture. We're going 9 to 5 and the unions are roaring. It's all spectacular. That isn't going to happen because we like cheap goods. We love cheap goods. Cheap stuff is cool. Cheap stuff is great. And yeah, that sounds great. Here's the thing. Everybody wants to pay less and they want to make more. That's life. I want to pay less for my goods and I want to make more in my job. And the thought process that we're going to rebuild this manufacturing, become a powerhouse again, maybe in a few areas we might, out of necessity we might, but the reality is it isn't going to happen, and not at the pace that would make the average voter happy, because we have a very finite attention span, and we're also we're a country where we give a little bit, like, oh, okay, you guys got all the power right now. The Republicans have the House, and the Senate, and of course there's the president, and he's Donald Trump, and there's a finite power that goes with that we give you with a finite amount of time, because we're also very nervous, and if we things get a little out of hand, a little wonky, we like to take back, even at times, the best of times, we'll take some of that power back and give it over to the other side, because we don't want to feel like the extremes are going to take over everything, which unfortunately, in many cases, in the conversational world, they have. But when it comes to something like this, it all sounds great. It's not a reality. Trump has returned the world, in many cases, just to common sense. That's it. The love of the country and common sense, which is not as common as you think. And yes, we can rebuild some manufacturing in this country, but not to the extent where we're going to be like we were in the 50s. It just isn't going to happen, because we're a global marketplace, and we're the hub of the global marketplace. That includes our ideas, and people like cheap goods. At the end of the day, it's still about your wallet, and that's what matters. But the common sense thing and the love of country, fan-freaking-tastic. Speaking of fun and interesting and stuff that's insane and common sense, the left continues to run away from common sense. Case in point, the trans issue. The fact that we're still talking about this is amazing. And the reason we're talking about it even more and more has zero to do with boys and girls sports. That is stupid, okay? And in theory, not boys, men, young men and girls, young women's sports, and men in women's sports. It can't happen. It's not real. It's just stupid. The thought process is stupid. It's asinine. But Whoopi Goldberg decided to weigh in on this because The View, right? Like, what else are you going to do? And had on the person who destroyed Bud Light talking about this, because Gavin Newsom, who's trying to appeal to the Republicans and the independents out there, had Charlie Kirk on discussing the issue of trans men, women, whatever, in sports. And the reality was, that's ridiculous. You and I both know it, because we live in a world of common sense. And common sense says, no, it can't happen. Because if it could happen, if that could really happen, when you have males and female sports and vice versa, why do we even have any kind of gender sports? Why not just have sports? Okay, so the Women's World Cup would be all the guys that were really good but couldn't play in the Men's World Cup. The WNBA would be guys who would be the D League. You see where we're going with this? This is the insanity of it all. But
California Governor Gavin Newsom said that he thinks that trans athletes competing in girls and women's sports was deeply unfair. Now, I want to hear what you think, because I'll tell you what I think, too.
Yeah. The last time I played a sport, I was 6 years old, and I was on a soccer team, but I assigned myself as the nurse. So I sat with the Band-Aids. And so, in the words of Wicked, I am not that girl. But a dear friend of mine, Skylar, he is a trans athlete. His handle's Pink Manta Ray. That's someone who I really look to for guidance. And I think that is what's tricky, is like, now stepping in this identity. I'm still like a baby trans. You know, I've only 3 years in. Tomorrow's my anniversary.
The clapping is just ridiculous. Congratulations.
It went from female to male, and it's competing with other males.
Correct.
No.
Yes.
Her friend.
Her friend. It went from female to male, and it's competing with other males.
So Gavin doesn't have a problem with that.
Well, I think part of the problem that the trans community is facing, and it's the same problem that women face is if you don't know anything about our bodies, you don't know how it works. So when you come in and you say, oh, you know, these are men, you know,
Competing
against women. You're assuming that the women are weak and just can't do anything except be here. Have you seen female athletes? They know what they're doing. So I'm not sure what's going on or why this is an issue. The same for me as when people say, oh, you know, I don't know how I feel about you. You do. God doesn't make mistakes.
No.
And the challenge is not to the trans people, it's to the people who are not trans. That's what God is looking to see, how you treat people.
Yeah.
That's what.
All right, you're killing me there. Here's the reality when it comes to sports. It's stupid to even pretend. Everybody knows that. Remember a few years ago, the insanity of asking, was it John McEnroe is the greatest tennis player of all time? And he came straight out, and I think he said, was it Djokovic or you know, one of them, Federer? And they're like, well, why not Serena? He goes, she's the greatest female tennis player. He goes, why not the greatest tennis player? Because she's not. Why is that? She'll readily admit it. And she has. She said, look, those guys would beat me in minutes. It wouldn't even be fair. It's not about who's better at this or better at that. There's a place for everybody and everything. And the way these games are supposed to be played and stuff. And it's great. If you want to play softball on a Tuesday night and it's a co-ed league, knock yourself out. But if you want to play NBA versus WNBA, good luck with that. If you want to play, you know, one of the things that we're talking about is this boy who is identifying as a girl won the long jump in a track meet in California, competing as a girl by 8 feet. 8 effing feet. Get your head out your ass if you think that's something that is normal. That is not even close to anything that should even be, we can even be pretending this is fair. And a long time ago, we've decided to tell the girls, the young girls who feel uncomfortable, who feel pissed, who feel like it should be fairness. We never ask them, do you feel it's fair? No, you don't. Because it's not. It's not. And so stop with the charade. 78% of the people, according to the last survey, said this is stupid. We got to stop this. There you go. I think we can all recognize that. They're going to continue to run it stupid, and they're going to continue to get what they get. Continue to push this bullshit out over and over again with, oh, I think they should be able to compete, or I think it is this, or it's that. It's just not. And this is not diminishing somebody who's going through something. And if you have gender dysmorphia and you feel that this is not about that. This is about looking out there and saying, hey, we can be honest about something. This isn't fair. This isn't a level playing field, and it shouldn't happen. But I tell everybody this over and over again. The whole issue in and around sports and the whole trans movement is a cultural Marxism continually pushing insane stuff, saying you have to believe this to be true, or else you are X, you are Y, you are Z. Case in point, Don Lemon's like, I don't want to talk about the Democrats.
And then just lastly, Van, in terms of Democrats and where they go from here.
Van.
This
Don
last
Lemon,
week,
please.
we did
He's
see them some people try to protest during the president's address, and then House leadership getting onto them, other Democrats calling them out. They still seem to be wandering around trying to figure this out. What's your take?
Can we ask another question? Do I have to talk about my own party? Can we talk about Ukraine or something? No. Look, man, we're screwed. I mean, we don't know. No, Democrats don't know what to do. This is a nightmare. Somebody like Donald Trump, we thought we'd at least have Hakeem Jeffries in the speaker's chair to hold him back if we didn't have Kamala in there to do the right thing. Listen, the Democratic Party is going through a massive set of internal crises. You have a party that got trapped two ways. One, defending a broken status quo that nobody likes, because they thought that Donald Trump was going to make it worse. But when you're defending the status quo, you're going to lose. And then offending most people in the country, calling everybody sexist and racist and transphobic and every other name, and then saying, please follow us. That's not a good strategy, folks. Defending a broken status quo and offending most of the country turns out is not as popular as my party thought it was going to be. And so it's going to take a while for people to get it figured out. I don't like talking about this. I'd rather be beat up. Can you give me something I can beat up Shermichael about? I don't want to talk about my own party.
I know. It's a tough question.
It's not a tough question. The simple question is this, and he understands that. You ran at stupid for too long. You continue to allow extremists to rule your party. And even when there was opportunities in front of you, you just said, hey, what's the craziest, worst idea we have? Let's go with that one. And that's why you lose. And just like we saw earlier with, oh yeah, you know, the athletes and the trend, stop it. Enough of that. If you want to win, it's simple. Come back to common sense. Come back to a party of the middle class. Come back to, because here's the thing they always think, that everybody who's a Democrat and thinks that the rich should pay their fair share, they understand the rich pay a lot of money. Maybe not as much as you want them to pay, but that'll never be enough for government. But you know what they don't do? They don't hate the wealthy and they don't hate the successful. They don't run at insane things because you tell them this is the right thing to do or else, because they recognize that's not something that's going to win points. They are common sense. Common sense is gone. The Republicans said, hey, common sense is ours now. We own that. We're going to talk to the middle class because you guys can't. You don't even know how to talk to the middle class. You have no idea how to do it. You've decided to cede reality to us and run away into a land of insanity and push monsters and goblins called Trump and Elon Musk on everybody and say the world's coming to an end. And you want, well, you're defending the indefensible. You're pushing the insane, and it's not working. And every time you think, let's see if they do something different here, they don't, because they can't. And they understand that. And lastly, we'll leave you with this, because this is a perfect example of why they continue to fail, with this person having no idea how economics work at all, not understanding this at all, and then somewhat threatening. And of all the people to threaten, I got to be honest with you, dude.
You need to
a little
sell
low in the T.
your Tesla. I'm not going to warn you again.
He's not going to warn us again.
Those of
Sell
us
the Tesla
in the
or else.
resistance are not going to stand for these hate mobiles driving around providing free advertising for the man who has subverted our democracy and spread disinformation and hate speech and supported the fascist takeover of our government.
First, let's break down the who am I selling it to, by the way? So let's say I had, and I'm not a car guy. I don't care about cars. It's never been my thing. But let's just say I've got one. And you're telling me I've got to sell my Tesla. I'm like, all right, so who am I selling it to? Because I've already bought the Tesla. So Elon and Tesla's already made the money. So me reselling it, they don't get the money again. And chances are, well, okay, they use the chargers. I mean, is that who exactly am I selling it to that's going to hurt Elon, if that's the goal indeed? Because then that person's got it. Are you going to go tell them to sell it? Who are they going to sell it to?
From the mouths of millions of people around the world by destroying U.S. aid, and has betrayed Vladimir Zelensky. That is how serious this is. And you continue to pre-order these Teslas. You continue to drive and charge these cars that are making this man, Elon Musk, more and more powerful, infinitely powerful. That is not okay. It's not okay. We are sending the Tesla stock to zero. Zero, Elon. We're sending your company to zero. This time next year, Tesla might not even exist. That is how serious we are about resisting this company and showing the world what it means to support Tesla. This is about good versus evil. These cars are not okay.
My God, that guy is, his cars are not okay. Elon, let me tell you something about the cars, okay? We're going to get rid of these cars because they're not okay. Because you're a mean guy and you build a hate mobile. It's full of hate. I was talking to my little brother the other day about him. He's like, nah, it's the trucks, because he's got one. He's all, people are pissed at the trucks. For whatever reason, the trucks seem to be the thing they're mad at. I don't know why. But that right there is somebody who is part of the resistance and continuing to push the insanity of let's go and we'll destroy Elon stuff. And by the way, we don't care. And let's just say you guys were able to drive Elon and Tesla out of business. You don't care about those people who lose their jobs, do you? I never thought of that. Unintended consequences. And if you're going to send somebody to make hay, that's the guy. Let me tell you guys something, okay? We're going to win this war because I'm part of the resistance. You can't make it up, people. You can't make it up. Democrats, keep doing what you're doing. You keep getting what you get. And Republicans, it's common sense. Keep pushing forward an agenda that's real. Keep trying to find waste, fraud, and abuse. And keep talking to the people about the fact that, hey, there's going to be a slowdown in the economy, but we may take a step backwards. But our goal is to take 1-2 steps backwards, then propel ourselves forward. And this is something that is going to happen. And so we have to tighten our belts, but we're all going to be in it. And if you're open and honest with people and you talk to them about what's coming and you are there saying, I'm here, this is what we're doing, and the reason we're doing it is this, you watch what happens. People will stay with you for so long. Because as we ultimately know, there's only so long people will stay before they go, this isn't working. But I think that with tariffs and a lot of these other things that are going on, these are momentary. These are a situation here where Trump is saying, what can I do to get people to do certain things that I want them to do? And then we'll go from there. I'm not saying it's going to be perfect. And you know what? There's going to be some pain. But if you explain the reason why these things are happening and you give people a vision of where you want to be, that's wonderful. They're going to stick with you much longer than if you're silent about it. Common sense, not as common as you think. Reach out to us across all of our social media at Chad Benson Show. You can always text the program, 323-538-CHAD. And then, of course, Chad Benson Show TV on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Follow across all those things. We appreciate it when you do. And every single weekday, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 on the West Coast and 9 to noon on the East Coast. Catch my show live across 100 different markets or so, give or take. You can go to the ChadBensonShow.com and check out where we are in your neck of the woods on the radio. You guys have a blessed rest of your Monday night. We'll be back tomorrow night. As always, I like to say, night, night, Jack.